Hello and welcome to the UNO Graduate School Application Walkthrough. In this video, I will be filling out a sample graduate school application and sharing tips along the way to help you complete your own application. If you're interested in attending graduate school at UNO and becoming a Maverick, then I encourage you to follow along and apply with me. You can get started by scanning the QR code on your screen or going to apply.unomaha.edu. First, before we get started, I would recommend that you take some time to gather and prepare documents you will need for your application. The application requirements differ from program to program, but there are some basics that all applicants will need. This includes a copy of your passport identification page and transcripts from all undergraduate programs. I would also recommend having your resume ready and up to date, as most programs require a resume. Having these few documents ready will help you get further along in the application. As I mentioned, the requirements vary from program to program. Some programs require, for example, a statement of purpose or a writing sample. To find details about these requirements, you can visit the Graduate Program Catalog at catalog.unomaha.edu/graduate/programs-az. You can also scan the QR code on the screen to be taken directly to the program catalog. As I mentioned before, you can get started by going to apply.unomaha.edu or by scanning the QR code on screen. This is what the page will look like when you arrive. When you scroll down, you can see the different application options. You will want to click on Graduate Student, which takes you to the Graduate Online Application menu. You're going to start by creating your account, which is the first option here on the left. When you click on Create Your Account, it brings you to this page. The first piece of account information needed is your email address. Be sure to use an email address that you check often, as this will be the main way that you receive communication from UNO. Next, you will need to create a password. The password has some requirements. It must be at least 8 characters long, contain upper and lowercase letters, and contain at least one number. Be sure to take note of your account information so you can log back into your account later. Then, under the next section, just fill in your first and last name. The last thing you need to fill in is your date of birth. You can either type it manually or click the calendar to select the date. Be sure to use the format month, day, then year. To finalize your account creation, you need to agree to the terms of service and privacy policy, then complete the CAPTCHA. As you can see, the CAPTCHA is not too complicated. Once your CAPTCHA is complete, you can click Create Account. The next task is to verify your email address. Check your email inbox and you should find an email with a link to verify your email. Once you click the link, you'll see this confirmation page and you can return to the application portal. On the top right above Verify Your Email, there's a box that says Log In. You want to click that box to be taken to the sign in page. Use the email address and password that you used to set up your account to log in here. Once you have filled in your credentials, click Login and it will take you back to this application menu page. Now you can click on Online Application here in the second section to start filling out your application. The first section of the application is General Information. Throughout the application, you want to make sure to pay attention to any question marked with an asterisk. These questions are required, so you must complete them to move through the application. I will be walking through all of the steps of the application with you here, so follow along and make sure you're answering the questions as accurately as possible. In the first part, your name should be filled in for you as you typed it in when you created your account. If you need to, you can click Change Name, which will take you to edit your application profile. You can also change your password and contact info here. You just click into the box, change your name, and click Update should you need to make any changes. Otherwise, like I said, it's auto-filled for you in the application. In the next field, you can provide a preferred name if you prefer to be called something other than your legal name. The next field is former name, which is important to include if any of your documents have a different name listed on them than the name which you provided when creating your application. For example, if you changed your name upon getting married and your undergraduate transcripts have your name from before you were married on them, you would want to list that former name here. This next section is all about your Nebraska connections, as in any connection you may have to the University of Nebraska or Nebraska State College system. The first question asks, have you previously applied, enrolled, or been employed at an NU or NSCS campus? If you've applied to any other universities or colleges in Nebraska, such as University of Nebraska-Lincoln or Wayne State College, then you would select yes. Otherwise, select no. The next question asks if you're a faculty member at any NU campus, select yes or no accordingly. Finally, this last question asks for your NU ID number. If you have ever applied previously to UNO, UNL, or UNK, you may have already received an NUID number. This would be your 8-digit student ID that you received from one of those universities. If you don't have one or are unsure, you can just leave it blank. The next question is about Nebraska residency. It says, are you a resident of Nebraska? Select yes or no accordingly. You can read about resident status above. Then, the citizenship status is very important. In this first question, you want to be sure to select non-US, including DACA, asylees, and refugees. Then, do you currently hold a US visa? Select yes or no accordingly. If you select yes, a drop-down will appear asking what type of visa your current visa is. Be sure to fill that in accurately. The next question is asking you to identify if you are working with any outside parties in applying to UNO. This may include an education consultancy, agency advisor, or other recruitment partner. If you are working with one, you'll want to select yes, and then fill in the name of the consultancy in the field that follows. Otherwise, you can select no. Here on the next question, it asks for your expected visa type, which is also very important. If you're unsure about which visa type, you want to select F1. This is the most common visa type for international students. Then you want to select your birthplace, country, and city. This information is important for immigration, so be sure that you select both. These are also required questions. At this point, if you have prepared a copy of your passport identification page, as I mentioned earlier, you will upload it here. This can be a photo, or if you have a print or scan, that will work as well. This is an important piece for your immigration documentation, so be sure the photo or scan is clear, up to date, and accurate. If you do not have a scan or photo of your passport ready at this time, you can always send it to the admissions office or upload it to your student portal at a later date. However, the sooner you are able to provide your documents, the smoother the application process will proceed. So it's a good idea to provide documents as soon as possible. To upload my sample document, I'm going to click on Choose File and then select the passport document from my computer files. If you would like to check the document, you can click on Preview to ensure it has uploaded correctly. This is just a PDF I made as an example, but this would be the scan of or photo of your passport. If you need to upload a different document or try again, you can click Remove and upload a new document the same way. Next, you'll want to select your country of citizenship here, and that is the final question of this section. When you've completed all of the questions on this page, you want to click Save here at the bottom. Then the page will reload, but as you can see, it has saved all of your selected information. Then you can click Next Page and move on to the next section. The next section of the application is Contact Information. If you need to return to the previous section, you can navigate the sections of the application here on the left side of the page. Otherwise, let's move forward with contact information. The first question that you see here is for an email address, which, like your name, is already filled in from when you created your account. If you'd like to change your email address, you can follow the same process as the name change and click Change Email to edit your profile. The next question says US phone number, which you likely do not have a US phone number, and that's okay. In fact, for immigration purposes, you will need to provide a phone number from your home country, whether you have a US number or not. So enter your international phone number, including the country code. When you enter the number, be sure to only enter digits. Do not include any hyphens or other special characters. Then you can select what type of phone. This is mainly for us to know if you can receive text messages to your phone number. However, you will not receive any critical information about your application via text messages. You will receive most communication from UNO via email. The next section is asking for your address, which is also very important for immigration documentation. So you must provide your address in your home country that is as complete as possible. For an international address, start first by selecting the country your address is in. Then proceed to fill in the street address and the city, which are both required. These are the most important to include. Even though the other fields are not required, such as province and postal code, I recommend filling them in if you can. Finally, for the last part of the contact information section, you will need to provide an emergency contact. This can be a parent, a spouse, or anyone you trust to be contacted in case of emergency. Emergencies are unlikely, but it's important for the university to have this information. You can type in their name if you would like, though it is not required. Then you can select the relationship to you in this dropdown, either parent, spouse, or other. Then enter a phone number for your emergency contact and be sure to include the relevant country code for this phone number. Then, once you've done that, you can click Save and move on to the next page. This next section of the application is short and simple. It just asks for some personal and demographical information. Starting at the top with biographical information, you will find your date of birth already filled in for you from when you created your account. However, if you made a mistake, you can change it here. Next, you need to click into the drop-down to select your legal sex. This specifically refers to how your sex is noted on any documents, such as your passport or ID. The next questions ask about ethnic and racial background, which are just used for demographic reporting. You are not required to answer these questions, but you can if you would like. The next section asks about a U.S. Social Security number, which you likely do not have as an international student. If you do have a Social Security number, you can list it here. Otherwise, you can just leave the field blank and move on. The final question asks about current U.S. military service. You can select the option that best describes you in the dropdown. When you're done, click Next Page to move on. This next section of the application is very important, as this is where you will indicate which graduate program you are applying to. This impacts the rest of the application and the documents you need, so be sure to choose accurately. If you're not sure what program you'd like to choose, you can explore your options in the graduate catalog that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. There are a few different ways to search for programs, so I'll show those to you now. The most straightforward way, if you know the name of the program, is just to type in the search bar. Here you can see I searched business, and it's showing me all of the business programs. If you click show all programs here at the top, it'll remove your search and show all the programs again. You can remove filters this way also. You can also click filter by and use these drop downs to filter the programs. You can also scroll through the list manually to find programs if you would like. For this application, I'll be using cybersecurity as an example. You can see here I filtered by academic field. Be sure to pay attention to what's in the parenthesis after the name of the program to ensure that you select the correct program. I want the Cybersecurity Master of Science, so I'll click on this program. Then I'll click into the dropdown and select my term. Once you've picked your term, click Select to the right. If you picked the wrong program or change your mind, you can click Change Program to search for a different program or update the term, whatever you need to do. Also, you can see the About This Program field. If you click on the linked word, which here is cybersecurity, it'll take you to the catalog page for your program. This is very useful because you can find the application deadline, document requirements, and a lot of other helpful information. Once you've selected your program, you can go ahead and click Next Page to move on. So now we are on to the program-specific requirements that I have been mentioning. Your application will guide you very directly on what needs to be uploaded. Here you can see that the cybersecurity requirements include a statement of purpose, a resume, and one supplemental question response. Your application may look different, but like I said, it should guide you exactly on what you need to upload. You will not be able to move forward in the application until you have uploaded all required documents, which are denoted with an asterisk. If you do not have your documents prepared, you can safely exit the application by clicking Save and Exit at the bottom of the page. This will ensure your responses thus far are saved for when you are ready to return and complete the application. Once you have your documents, you'll upload them exactly how we uploaded documents before. Click on Choose File, select the file from your computer, and wait for it to upload. You can click Preview if you need to make sure the document uploaded properly, or click Remove if you need to remove it and re-upload it. I have done the statement of purpose. Now I'll upload the resume as well. And the next part of the application is a supplemental question, which you can respond to simply by typing in the text box on the application. Your application, like I said, may be different. It may have more than one supplemental question, but this application for cybersecurity only has one. So here you can see I'm typing in my response. Then once you've finished uploading your documents and answering the questions on this page, go ahead and click Next Page to move on. The next section of the application is your education history. At the top, it will ask you to verify this statement. If admitted, I understand that I will need to provide official, complete, final transcripts for all schools attended and all degrees conferred. All credentials uploaded to the online application are considered unofficial. This means that when you are prompted to upload transcripts to this application, these are unofficial transcripts because you uploaded them yourself. You will have to have official transcripts sent to UNO directly by any undergraduate institution that you attended. You'll receive more instructions on this if you are admitted. Go ahead and click Yes to agree to this statement. Then you will add your first institution. Using the school search can be a little tricky for international universities, so I will walk you through this carefully. Start by clicking Search, which will take you to the school search page. For international universities, the best way to search is simply by selecting your country from the drop-down menu, then clicking Find School. This will show you a list of universities in the city or country you selected. As you can see here, I'm looking through the list, and I will select France as my country, then click on Find School, and it shows all of these universities listed here. So even if your university is listed, you want to scroll down to the end of the list to select none of the above. This will allow you to fill out all of the details about your university manually. It is important that you do it this way, otherwise you will encounter issues when trying to move on from the education history section. As you can see, once you've selected none of the above, it brings you back to the application to start filling out your school's information. First, you need to click into school name and delete not found. Then type in the name of your undergraduate university or college. In the next field, city, you will need to delete the question marks and fill in the name of the city your university or college is in. For the next field, state or province, this is a drop-down with a limited selection of states and provinces. If your university is outside of the US or Canada, then you can just skip over this one. It is not required. The next dropdown is for the country your university is in, so you want to again select your country. The next two questions are attendance begin date and attendance end date. You only need to fill in a month and a year for these. You can either type them in manually or click on the calendar icon to the left to select the dates. Your attendance end date may be in the future if you haven't graduated yet, or if you are in the process of graduating, and that's okay. In the next dropdown, select the degree you earned or worked towards at the university. Right underneath that, you can type the major or program of study your degree is focused on. Finally, fill out your graduation date, which, like I said, that may also be in the future, and that's okay. Again, this only needs a month and a year. You will then be prompted to upload your transcripts for the institution you just added. If you have them available, go ahead and upload them here. You'll upload them just like you uploaded the other documents. If you do not yet have your transcripts at this time, that's okay. There's a statement below which reads, "Transcript not available at this time. I understand that I will be required to provide it in accordance with Office of Graduate Studies policy." You can click yes to agree to this statement. If you're not prepared to upload your transcripts at this time, that will allow you to move on. Then, whether you uploaded your transcripts or not, there's another statement below that you will need to agree to. This statement is in reference to what was mentioned above about how you will need your institution to send official transcripts directly to UNO upon your admission. If you need to add another institution, click Add Institution below. If you'd like to remove an institution you've added, click Remove Institution. The next section just asks about what type of secondary school you attended and when you graduated. You want to click the drop-down and select International High School, then fill in the month and year of your secondary school graduation. The next section is about English proficiency. This is another important section as you will need to provide some proof of English proficiency to be admitted. There are a few options that you can use. The most common option is an English proficiency exam such as IELTS, TOEFL, or the Duolingo English exam. If you've already completed one of these exams, you will want to select yes on the first question. The next question asks if you have received a baccalaureate or other degree from a U.S. institution or a country on the waiver list. If you have a degree from one of these countries or a U.S. institution, you want to select yes for this question. You will not need to provide proof of English proficiency score if that is the case. If not, select no. If you selected no, a new section called TOEFL/IELTS will appear. The question here asks if you have completed the TOEFL, IELTS, or PTE exams. If you've already taken an English proficiency exam, click the drop-down and select yes. If you've not taken your exam yet, select no. If you select yes, you will be prompted to upload a copy of your score report for the English exam that you have taken. You can upload this the same way you have uploaded your other files just by clicking Choose File and select the file from your computer. If you do not have a score report ready, at this time you can move on without uploading your score. However, you will need to send a score at some point before you can be admitted. If you select no, you will need to fill in the date that you plan to complete your exam on. Please note the format is month, day, then year. There is a note here as well that says if you are admitted, you will need to have your official score sent to UNO directly from the testing agency. Our admissions counselors can provide you more guidance on how to do this for each type of exam upon your admission. To review the details about English proficiency requirements for graduate students, you can click the link in the description. Once you have completed the English proficiency section, you can go ahead and move on to the next page. The next section includes some additional miscellaneous information that is needed for your application. These questions are pretty straightforward, so let's take a quick look at them. The first section contains some questions about your financial resources. The question says, how do you intend to fund your study? Read through these options and select all the options that apply to you. The next question asks, does your current employer offer a tuition assistance benefit? Just select yes or no here. Then, in the other section below, there are some more questions that are easy to fill in. The first question asks, how did you learn about this program at UNO? Click the drop-down menu and select the answer that best describes how you found out about UNO, or you can choose other. The next question asks about the McNair Scholarship Program. Indicate yes or no for this. Then it asks if you are a current undergraduate Pell Grant recipient. As an international student, you are likely not eligible for the Pell Grant, so you can select no. Then it asks if you are currently enrolled in any undergraduate or graduate courses at UNO. Select yes or no. Finally, it asks if you're eligible for a National Service Education Award from the National Service Trust. Once you have answered all the questions here, you can move on to the next page. This next section is all about recommendations. Your program will guide you on if a letter of recommendation is not required, required, or optional. The blue box at the top will contain your program's specific instructions, so be sure to read these carefully. For the cybersecurity program, a letter of recommendation is optional, so the instructions read like this. A letter of recommendation is encouraged but not required in instances where such a letter can strengthen or support your application. If you choose to supplement your application with a letter of recommendation, provide the name and email address of an individual who can address your qualifications for graduate study. The recommender will be sent an online recommendation request. Inform them of the deadline associated with the program to which you are applying so they can submit their recommendation prior to this date. So if your application requires a recommendation, or if it is optional and you'd like to provide one, you can fill in the form below with the information of your recommender. Just be sure that you communicate with them about your application deadline so that they are aware and can complete their recommendation in a timely manner. As a reminder, you can find out when your application deadline is in the catalog. Here, I'm just filling out an example as if this were my professor from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Then in the dropdown, it'll ask you if you want to waive your right to view the recommendation. FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which basically grants you, as an applicant, the right to review all of your personal education records, including recommendations. In summary, if you want to be able to read the recommendations, select no in the dropdown. If you do not want to be able to read them, select yes. Once you have included all of the recommender information and selected yes or no in the dropdown, click Submit Recommendation Request to confirm your request. Then you can go to the next page. Now we are on the final section of the application. In this section, you are agreeing to some different terms of the application and signing it. I recommend that you read carefully and thoroughly through each of these statements for the agreement and transcripts. Once you have read them, click Yes to certify and agree to each. Then, in the retention section, you are consenting to your data being recorded and stored in accordance with the data retention policies of the Nebraska Board of Regents. Check the box to consent to the data retention policy. Then next is the date of electronic signature. This should have already filled in today's date for you, so you don't need to do anything. Finally, if you have an application fee code, you can enter it, though most applicants will not. Then go ahead and click Review to review your application. When you're in review mode, you'll be able to look over your entire application, see everything that you filled out, and just kind of double check everything that you entered. You can navigate by section on the left side of the screen as you were able to while filling out the application. If you have something you need to change, you can click Return to Form here on the left side, and you can go back and edit any sections as necessary. If you are done with everything, you can go ahead and click Submit. Congratulations, you just filled out your application for the University of Nebraska at Omaha's graduate school. You should receive follow-up emails to your inbox shortly after submitting. If you have any questions, you can always contact the Graduate Studies office. Their contact information will be in the description. Thanks for watching. Make sure to let us know in the comments what videos you want to see next on our channel.